Hello everyone, I'm Kenshin. Welcome to Talking History. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share with a tap of your finger. Also, remember to turn on the notification bell. Thank you. Today's historical discussion is about Dragon's Teeth and the Siegfried line of Nazi Germany. On July 28, 2023, as Ukraine launched a formal counteroffensive, attempting to break through the Russian defense line, the Ukrainian army broke through the first line of defense of the Russian forces in Zaporozhye. Following this was the construction, starting from the end of 2022, of the pyramid-shaped anti-tank concrete defense line called the Dragon's Teeth. Its primary purpose is to hinder the advancement of tracked tanks. But can it really achieve its goal? In fact, this type of anti-tank device, the Dragon's Teeth, was not originally conceived by Russia. Much of the tactics used in the Russo-Ukrainian War are from World War II strategic thinking and involve borrowing from other countries' original ideas. Today, let's explore the development process and application examples of the original creators. The Dragon's Teeth defense structure emerged in response to tanks. During the Battle of the Somme in World War I, Britain showcased new industrial-era war machines to the world. German soldiers faced these steel monsters and found that machine gun fire was ineffective against them. Only direct artillery fire worked. Additionally, the Germans discovered that these weapons, called tanks, could easily cross trenches, leading to great panic. Subsequently, both sides in the conflict began developing tanks, marking the formal end of trench warfare era. First, countries sought ways to obstruct tank advancement. The simplest method was to dig wider and deeper trenches, making them too large for tanks to easily cross. However, widening trenches was time-consuming and labor-intensive. Besides, trenches needed a certain depth to be effective. Enemies could also fill a small portion of trenches or construct bridges for tanks to pass through, rendering this approach inefficient. It wasn't until a Swiss military expert designed a cone-shaped structure with nail-like protrusions capable of halting tank progress. These were then constructed in border areas of Switzerland, bolstering defense capabilities. These anti-tank defense structures are known as anti-tank cones or Dragon's Teeth. From photographs, they may appear diminutive, resembling speed bumps. However, their height typically ranges from 90 to 120 centimeters, depending on the construction location and time. As for how Dragon's Teeth obstruct tanks, it's rather unconventional. Firstly, the height obstacle significantly reduces tank speed. Additionally, passing over the pointed cones exposes the vulnerable underside of tanks, providing an opportunity for anti-tank firepower. Tanks ensnared by Dragon's Teeth obstacles typically face destruction from individual anti-tank firepower or anti-tank artillery. Once a tank is lifted by the cones, the crew must abandon the vehicle for survival. Next, let's talk about Germany's Siegfried line. After World War I, France spent 12 years and 5 billion francs constructing a well-known defense line, the Maginot Line, along its border. This ensured its own border security and served as a significant deterrent to the Germans. Nazi Germany's leader, Adolf Hitler, decided to build a defensive system against the Maginot Line along the western border of Germany. This line stretched from Cleve on the Dutch-German border to Nijmegen in the east, then along the German border southward to the town of Weil am Rhein on the German-Swiss border. This defensive system, known as the Siegfried Line or West Wall to Germans, spanned over 390 miles, 630 kilometers, and included more than 18,000 bunkers, tunnels, and tank traps. The West Wall featured unprecedented reinforced concrete structures shaped like square pyramids to counter potential armored incursions into German territory. It underwent further development from July 1944 onwards, serving as a major deterrent force against Allied advances into Germany. Inspired by the Swiss, who constructed Dragon's Teeth in their Siegfried line at the border with France, the German Dragon's Teeth were larger in scale. Buried deep underground to prevent easy destruction, only their sharp tips protruded above the surface, enhancing their defensive capabilities. These reinforced concrete blocks extended in rows on a foundation, typically in two types: the 1938 type with 4 teeth, progressively higher towards the back, and the 1939 type with 5 teeth. Additionally, many irregular tooth lines were constructed, and if terrain permitted, water-filled ditches were dug instead of tank traps. In September 1939, France declared war on Germany, but during the «phony war» of 1939–1940, there were no major battles along the Siegfried Line. After Germany's Western Offensive in May and June 1940, all transportable weapons on the defensive line were dismantled for other purposes, including concrete bunkers and tank traps. These bunkers were essentially abandoned and often repurposed as storage facilities. However, in June 1944, with the Allied invasion of Normandy, Germany faced Western Front warfare again. On August 24, Hitler ordered the reconstruction of the Siegfried Line. Approximately 20,000 slave laborers and National Labor Service boys aged 14–16 were employed, including locals, mainly for constructing anti-tank ditches. Due to overwhelming Allied air power, construction faced significant obstacles, and it was clear during the process that these fortifications could no longer withstand stronger armor-piercing weapons. In August 1944, the first conflict in the Eifel region, about 12.5 miles southeast of Aachen along the Siegfried Line, occurred, the Battle of Hürtgen Forest. Both sides suffered heavy casualties in this densely wooded area. After this battle, the focus of the Western Front shifted to the Battle of the Bulge, starting between Monschau and Echternach in southern Hürtgen. Significant conflicts also occurred in other parts of the Siegfried Line. Many German soldiers in the bunkers refused to surrender, fearing German military court judgments more than Allied attacks. In this ongoing offensive, most German soldiers paid with their lives, as the bunkers proved ineffective in defense. In the spring of 1945, during the Allied advance in the Saar and Hunsrück regions, the last fortress of the Siegfried Line was captured. From October 2 to 21, 1944, one of the most significant battles of the Siegfried Line and its surroundings took place in Aachen between the Allied and German forces. The Allies aimed to swiftly occupy Aachen and advance into the industrialized Ruhr Valley. Although most civilians had been evacuated before the fighting, much of the city was destroyed, resulting in heavy losses on both sides. This battle was one of the largest urban battles fought by the U.S. Army in World War II and concluded with Germany's surrender. Despite becoming the first city on German soil to be occupied by the Allies, Aachen's fierce defense significantly disrupted the Allies' plans. After the war, facilities along the Siegfried Line were destroyed with explosives, but in North Rhine-Westphalia, about 30 bunkers remain, and many dragons' teeth, surrounded by moss, are difficult to demolish. However, the wartime experience showed that dragons' teeth were not as effective as anticipated. Instead of digging out the dragons' teeth structures, Allied engineers opted for precision bombing by dive bombers to create pathways, achieving the objective of destroying the surface structures of the dragons' teeth. Regarding the modern context, it's unlikely for Russia to effectively use World War II dragons' teeth to counter more advanced tanks provided by the West. Despite Ukraine's lack of significant air power, Russian forces' insufficient defense and morale would render defensive structures ineffective without adequate military personnel.